Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Brokerpreneur Podcast. I'm Dr. Ben Spears, the ambassador of flow. I'm here with the big guy as usual, Matt.
Benny!
How you doing, man?
Absolutely fantastic.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Absolutely.
I don't know how long I'm going to say that. Maybe through January. I love the New Year. It's like one of my favorite times of the year. I don't know why that is. I just love it.
Man, I like from like October 25th through the New Year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for some reason, I mean, mentally I can just, I don't stop, right? But I can just, it's like I've got permission to kind of slow down.
Yeah.
And then then you get to just jump on it and kick it into gear at the New Year. So I like that opportunity to be able to slow down. But I also love this time of year because everybody's in the office right now, right? I mean, Did you notice that? A week ago, nobody's in the office.
Yeah, last week it was like tumbleweeds going down. And now it's like, hey, there goes 6 or 7 guys.
That's right.
All with iced coffee.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So I love it. Everybody's got hustle on their mind.
That's exactly right. You and me included. So Matt, this podcast is unofficially brought to you by Biz Markie.
Don't make me sing.
You got what I need.
But you say he's just a friend.
Don't confuse it with your wants. If you guys are still here.
Oh, baby, you. Please tell me everybody knows who Biz Markie is first. I don't mean to cut you off, Ben.
No, I did mean to cut you off.
I know you did. Well, I know how bad my singing is. Everybody out there knows how bad my singing is.
Yeah, we all know.
Yep. So maybe we can put a link to that Biz Markie video.
Yeah, sure. I'll throw a Biz Markie YouTube video down there, and you guys can, if you haven't listened to that song, like, gosh, go listen to that. It's a classic.
Click on it.
Yeah, it's a classic. So, Matt.
Yep.
Tell everybody why I brought that up. And what we're going to be talking about.
Because you wanted to hear me
today.
Well,
I want to hear you sing, right? You're like an angel.
It's
like hearing an angel.
Angel of death, maybe. My ears.
Yeah. Hell's Angel.
That's right. So for all you Hell's Angels out there, don't confuse your needs with your wants, right? So whenever we're recruiting, we got to be really careful not to think we know exactly.
Yeah.
So a good broker understands what's going on in the market, and they do understand what an agent needs to be doing, right? But that doesn't mean that's what they want.
Yes.
So you have to be able to balance the two of those, okay? Yeah. And we'll talk about a boss that's a broker versus a whatever in just a second, and we'll go from there. But that's what we're going to talk about. Don't confuse needs with wants.
Perfect. Well, guys, don't confuse following with not following. Wherever you're listening to this, hit that follow button, that subscribe button. We would really appreciate it. Helps the podcast, and just helps us with the algorithm, right? I'll just ask you a favor and tell you straight up legit. We want you to have the info. We want to make sure that all these platforms, know that you appreciate what we do as well. There's no better time than the present than to go to brokerpreneurpodcast.com. If you don't know how to spell that, look down at your phone or your device wherever you're watching this. It says Brokerpreneur right there. It's also a link in the description below. You can sign up for our weekly recruiting newsletter that we put our heart and soul into, and it goes out every single Friday and has everything from our latest blog posts, a couple of our most recent podcasts. Also has some internet info that I go and take a look at that I say, wow, that would be a really good article for that broker to share with another agent, or just some really good information that I feel like you would need to know to have good conversations with the recruits in your office. Also, I always throw in something that's a little bit funny in there as well.
Maybe like a Biz Markie video.
Yeah, like a Biz Markie video. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to throw that in the next one. I'll be like, if you didn't listen to the podcast, check out this video.
This bud's for you.
Yeah, exactly. This bud's for you. Just go through all the Super Bowl commercials. So, guys, don't confuse your needs with your wants. And we're going to start off, Matt, by talking about the different roles necessarily that a broker can play. Absolutely. What roles they should play, and what roles maybe they shouldn't play, but they play anyway.
Yeah, let's. So I'm not going to say they shouldn't. It's going to sound like in my conversation that they shouldn't. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I said it, so you didn't have to.
Right. I appreciate that. So here's why, and I'm trying to nicely say. I'm trying to give I want people to take an honest look and decide whether they should or should not do this, right?
Yeah.
If you're their broker and you're acting like their boss and that's working for you, I love that that's working for you. However, when they leave and you're trying to replace them with someone else, it's going to work for less of those new people coming in the door.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. That's just not I don't think it's the direction that real estate has been in a very long time. And it's just accelerating at this point, right?
Yep.
As the average age drops and you get a different mindset of people coming into the business, you as the broker being the boss just is going to work less and less. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm okay with it if it's working for you and and that's your legacy and that's how you plan on stepping out of the business. Go get them, Tiger.
Yeah.
Right. However, if that's not your path, you better take a serious look at it. Right. We dealt with somebody recently that's exactly how they looked at it.
Yeah.
And it was a huge struggle from a recruiting standpoint for them.
Yeah.
And hopefully they've got it identified, and now hopefully they're moving in a direction of making some adjustments with it, because if you just can't be the boss of everything they do. You got to be a job superintendent, right? You got to be a coach. You got to be a guide. You got to be somebody we've said this in a bunch of other podcasts. We say it in, if you go through the material that we send out, I mean, the bottom line is they're not becoming an entrepreneur and going through all the things that they're going through just so they can have a boss.
Yeah.
Right. They're not going through the getting the class and putting the money out and all of that, and wanting their own flexible schedule and wanting to do marketing their own way and leads in their own way and all these things. And then all of a sudden going to a brokerage where the broker's going to talk to them like they're the boss.
Yeah.
That ain't what they're doing, man.
Yeah. They have no interest in that whatsoever.
That's exactly right.
It's quite the opposite.
That's right. And even if you get them, they won't stay. Right. Yeah. So, and then you've got just this revolving door. So look at yourself like a job superintendent, right? Job superintendent is not out there swinging the hammer.
Yeah.
Right. Job superintendent is not out there standing next to the guy that's turning the wrench.
Yeah.
The job superintendent is the one that is managing the contracts and managing the subcontractors and paying attention to budget and doing all those different things. That's what the superintendent is doing. That's what a coach is doing. That's what a guide is doing.
Yeah.
The guide is helping the hero in the story, right?
Yep.
Just remember, these agents are the hero in their story. You are not the hero in their story. You are the guide that helps the hero be a better hero.
Yeah.
As long as you keep focused on that, you're gonna win at a whole different level in not just recruiting, but also in what you're doing overall with your business, with your agents. Longevity, average agent life cycle in your office goes up, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, which is all good things.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about a few things that kind of balance or tip those scales in a guide versus boss standpoint. I'm going to go to the first one. I'm just going to be quite honest with you. I'm looking at my show notes, and you're just going to have to refresh my memory. It just says $ per hour.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So tell me what we're going to be talking about there.
Yeah. So a guide makes sure that the agent understands how much their time is worth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of the best exercises you can do is break down their $ per hour. Okay.
Gotcha.
So you figure out how many hours they work during the course of the year. You do that by asking them. You figure out how much money they put in their pocket, and you divide one number into the other number. Man, that's their $ per hour. You're going to break some hearts with this one. Okay. Let me tell you where this is going to be the biggest heartbreaker. So you talk to team leaders. Okay. And team leaders, when they add team members, they're never thinking, you know what, I want to work twice as hard and make the same exact amount of money.
Yeah, you got that right.
They're like, I don't want to work as hard and I want to make more money.
Yeah.
Right. So if you take the people that are on their team, they should have a very good idea of how many hours those people are working. They should also have a very good idea of how much money those people are putting in their pocket. Not their gross. We're talking about net here.
Yep.
Okay. There's been times when I've went through this exercise with team leaders, and we went through everyone on their team. And here's a key. If you're going to do this with your team leaders in your office, you need to ask them to come to the meeting with the net dollar that their team members made. Okay. And then you're going to tell them
for them.
For the net dollars that the members of the team that team leader is on.
Yes.
They need to show up with that number to your meeting.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then you're going to sit down and you're going to ask them to set that aside. And then you're just going to walk them through an exercise and say, well, how many hours a week do you think? Let's walk through this. Let's figure out how many they're doing and who's doing this and who's doing that. And then you're going to work all that up and you're going to calculate that. Separate those two numbers before you start talking about dollar per hour.
Gotcha.
Okay? Because you want them to be as real of numbers as possible.
Yep.
So you go through and say, okay, let's calculate this person's hours and this person's hours and this one's and this one's, and then let's look at yours.
Gotcha.
Okay. So two things are going to happen. One, they're going to know their hours better than their team members' hours. Okay.
Yep.
They're still going to know their team members' hours, but they're going to have a pretty good idea, but they're going to know their hours more. Okay. I can't tell you how many times I've done this, and the team leader was making less per hour than some of the team members.
Wow.
Yeah. And the reason why is because the team member's just showing it up, treating it like it's a job.
It's a job. Yep.
And the team leader is pouring their heart and soul into it. And so they're spending a ton of hours, right?
Yeah.
And so their dollar per hour ends up going down on average. Okay. So they're making more money, but they're spending exponentially more hours. Now, sometimes it's the truth, and sometimes they just think they're spending more hours. If they, I would make sure that they one of their measurements would be they start taking a closer look at the hours that their team members are putting in. Now, they're not telling the team members, because there's a whole 1099 situation here. They're not telling the team members, hey, you better be here this, you better do that, you better do the right. They're saying, I will pay you this much to do these things. And then they're keeping an eye on those hours. That is going to be an eye opener for a lot of team leaders.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is going to help them not be surprised by their dollar per hour whenever you go to look at it in the next quarter, the next half a year, and then a year later. Okay.
Gotcha.
So you want to take a close look at what their dollars per hour are, and if they're a team leader, what the dollars per hour are the people that are on their team.
Gotcha. Yep. Makes total sense. We talk a lot about, the 4 pillars. We did a podcast about, essentially 4 categories of business, the one previous to this. Mm-hmm. And, the dollar per hour, that falls in those cost, revenue, expenses, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. The next one we're going to be talking about, kind of falls in that training pillar. But that's where, we're really determining, who does what training, mm-hmm. right? So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So and we talked about this in the other podcast. You're right. I mean, we talked about, who makes a training schedule.
Yep.
So team leaders should be making training schedules for their team.
Right.
Okay. The office training schedule should be made up from a compilation of attendance of training that you're having and what people are requesting and what tools and systems are using. Right. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about tools and systems and how to approach that in the action item. I think it'll help everybody with that. But there's so as far as a training schedule goes, here's the bottom line point that I think I'd probably keep in mind. A training schedule, absolutely the individual should have input on it, but they should not be the ones doing their entire training schedule. Okay. Right. Because you can't kind of trust yourself. Right.
Oh, of course.
So people are going to say, right, if their business breaks down into 4 main pillars, well, I really like marketing. So you know what? I'm going to lean into marketing more so I can do it right. Well, you've already taken 96 marketing classes. Okay. Yeah. Are you paying attention to finance? Are you paying attention to how you run your damn business? Right.
Yeah.
So that's when somebody else has to come along and, put their arm on your shoulder and go, hey, look, I know you've done 96 marketing classes and you've got, designations in 38 different marketing things, but you lost money last year. Right? Yeah. Maybe it's time for us to take a look at
spending it on marketing classes.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So that's whenever you have to have somebody else kind of help out, right?
Yeah.
Well, the same thing is true for you as a broker.
Yeah.
Okay. So this isn't a plug for us, but it's going to come across like a plug for us, right?
Sweet, my favorite.
So the reason why we do the training and the education stuff the way that we need to, and the reason why we change them up all the time is because markets do change and things do shift. But there are fundamental pieces to business. How you do them might adapt, and that's what we do. So we have people on different podcasts, and we talk to them about what's going on. We're constantly on LinkedIn. We're constantly reading. We're constantly going out and getting information from different places, Real Trends and Swansboro Report and National Association of Realtors and brokers that I talk to. We're just constantly gathering information.
Yeah,
we update the things that are fundamental, because we're getting input from everybody else on what needs to be discussed.
Yep.
Okay. We're not just going, hey, I know what you need, and so you need to come do this event.
Yeah.
Right. What we're doing is we're saying this is the overview of this event because it's fundamental in business, but here's how we're going to approach it this year.
Yeah.
That's why we plan it out. That's why we pay attention to it. That's why we do things the way that we do, is because we want to make sure that our clients stay ahead of what's going on from a training standpoint.
Yeah.
So we help them set up a training schedule that is very effective and very forward thinking, and all they have to do is plug into it. Right.
Yep.
So who makes their training schedule makes a big difference, and you got to have somebody else helping you out with it.
Yeah, and speaking of having someone else, helping you out, and we talked just a second ago about, just finding out who on your team is actually, not your team, who on a team is actually making a team leader money and that kind of thing. Now let's talk about, who is actually being effective, on the team, in the office, in your business.
Yeah.
Hey guys, this podcast is powered by Prospect Boomerang.
We all know broker owners struggle with profitability. Prospect Boomerang compounds your profits by recruiting the best agents to your brokerage.
For consistent growth, visit prospectboomerang.com.
So if whether it's your team, like you said, right, you're the broker, you've got all the people in the office, or whether it's a team leader in your office, right? You have to know who's making money and who's not.
Yep.
This is per person productivity is what this boils down to. So look at units per team member, okay? And then look at profitability per team member.
Yep.
Okay. If you want to guide someone, if you want to be a job superintendent, if you want to coach someone, whether it's recruits that you're trying to bring in to offer them value to make them see what they'll get by being on board with you, or whether it's your current agents, you have to understand the difference between per person productivity and profitability per person. Okay.
Gotcha.
Because there's a big difference between it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you might have somebody that sells a ton of units, okay, but they discount everything. Right. And you're literally making nothing off of it. Or maybe your model, it doesn't make a difference whether they reduce the commission or not. You make the same exact amount. If so, more units is best.
Yep.
But you need to understand that. You need to have your head wrapped around that and what is being efficient, whether it's, more units or whether it's more dollars per unit or whether it's some combination of both of them. And then you need to be able to extrapolate that and help the people in your office, the team leaders in your office, individual agents in your office. You need to be able to help them leverage that so that they understand their business better, because that falls directly into that finance portion of what we talked about being a good business leader.
Yep, absolutely. And so, now we get, kind of into, one of my favorite types of subjects, which is kind of technology.
Yeah.
And not that I don't love people. I love people.
Sure you do.
I just like boxes.
Computer better.
I just like boxes that are like error bin.
404
You
error.
can't do that. So let's talk about the different softwares, the different techs that you would offer and your business would use and why.
Yeah. So I'll give you a great example, right? If you're not using text now in your lead generation, you're probably about 3 years behind.
Yeah,
right?
at least.
And some people aren't.
Oh, for sure.
Right. They'll use it as their post connection communication, but they're not using it as part of their lead generation. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So that's a great example of, what software and what technology are you using and what migration is happening. Okay. So what your agents want is to do what's comfortable, homeostasis, right?
Yep.
They want to keep doing the same thing. What they need is the things that are going to help them move forward in their business. When you're talking to a recruit, when you're talking to your existing agents, you have to have the balance between the two of those.
Yep.
Right. You know that they need to migrate to texting on their lead generation.
Absolutely.
That might not be what they want. So are you making that part of your training? How are you helping them with a software standpoint? Right? Are you introducing and then reintroducing software into your sales meetings that's going to help them do those things? You're not saying, Ben, in your coaching session, Ben, you're not using texting, so your business is going to die. Right?
Right.
That's not what you're saying. What you're saying instead is, hey guys, I came across this great tech. I heard about it on this incredible podcast that's hosted by Matt and Dr. Ben.
Yeah. I like how you put your name first, whatever.
There we go.
Man, Dr. Ben, whatever.
Can I get back to the show?
I guess.
Can I get a minute?
It's your show.
Can I get a minute?
It's your show. You tell me. It's your show.
Looks like we're about to bust into the wrap up here, guys.
Ed McMahon. I just sit over here and laugh.
Can I get a minute? Can I get a minute? Can I get a minute? Can I get a minute?
Dude, take as many as you want. You're good.
Oh, here we go. Ben just sat back and crossed his arms for those of you who aren't watching this on YouTube.
Yeah, you got 8.
And then I'm shutting this thing down. We'll see who's in charge.
Yeah.
So I don't even know where we were, but let's just say that we were with you telling someone that texting, if they're not doing it, that's not going to work in their business, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that, right? What you're going to do instead is you're going to say you listen to this great podcast with Dr. Ben and Matt, and they talked about texting. How many of you guys in the meeting today are using texting in your lead generation?
Yeah.
So next week I'm going to have a class. We're going to have a class about how you can do some of this with you. So now you're helping them migrate. Right?
Yep.
You can bring it up in coaching. Hey, are you doing this? And they say no. And you say, well, it might be something that you need to do. You know what? I'm going to have a class coming up. If you want, jump into it. If not, let's talk about it when the time comes.
Yeah.
Right? At that point, you're helping them understand how to leverage and move forward with technology. You're not telling them that they have to.
Yeah.
That's the difference between what they want and what they need.
Yeah.
You have to help them understand the difference between the two of those. If you start with you need this, instead of do you want this, you're going to, especially from a recruiting standpoint.
Yep.
Most of those people, you don't know their business well enough to say, you better do this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and a lot of times, it's like, you saying it one way, but then presenting it in a way of, hey, there's this new thing, makes everyone just want to kind of like jump on board with whatever it is. And it's like, and especially if you do it kind of in a group setting, because you're just going to have a few people who are like, whoa, that's really cool.
Yep.
And then as soon as the early adapters will say,
right.
Wow, that's really cool. The majority and maybe even some of the laggards, I'm just going to kind of look at it. They're going to look at it a little bit different. Maybe they take some time and they ask some questions.
Yep.
But yeah, just think about the way that they introduce those things, and text is such a great example of that. And so I'm glad that that's the one that you used, because you're going to get a lot of people who are like, well, I'm a professional. Text isn't professional. Email is professional, right? Letters are professional, that kind of thing. And gosh, it's just like everyone is using text.
Absolutely.
Professionals, non-professionals, whatever.
And DMing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so many people move through a platform that is not a texting platform now, right? So texting, you might be just kind of catching up.
That's exactly right.
So absolutely, you have to just kind of stay ahead of that. What they need, you have to help them understand they want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So lead generation, right? That's the next one we got to. Yeah, that's the next one we got to talk about, right? Who's doing it? How much are they doing? Okay, I have to understand that as a coach, as a guide. You have to understand who in your office is prospecting.
Yep.
Not just who's doing business, guys. Please understand, prospecting is not the same as doing business.
Yes.
Okay, you don't know where they got it from. You don't, right? Understand who's prospecting and who's not, because as the market shifts and changes, people that know how to prospect can adapt their prospecting and continue to do business. People that are getting business from a source that is just a source that they stumbled across or that they worked hard to get or whatever, that is not the same. If the market shifts, they can be out of business. Mm-hmm. Someone that prospects is not going to be out of business. They're just going to have to prospect somewhere else. Yeah. So you have to understand lead generation, how much they're doing, and then the 1/3 rule. So I'll do this really quick. I think I've done this on another podcast, but whether it's your agents or whether it's team leaders in your office, there's a 1/3 rule, right? 1/3 of the business should be things that they're going out and getting absolutely positively themselves. Okay. So that means that they're prospecting for it.
Correct.
Okay. 1/3 of it should be business that's coming to them. I'll talk about that one in a second because that one's a little bit more complex. And 1/3 of it should be things that you're doing as a brokerage that are supporting them getting business. That doesn't mean that you have to hand them leads, but it means that you're having training that helps them, or you have a business development department, or it does mean that you're buying leads, or it does mean that you're facilitating farming in the office or whatever. Yep. 1/3 of their business, you should be helping them do that. If you're not, and they go somewhere else, they're not going to miss not being with you.
Correct.
Okay?
Yep.
So if someone walks in and they say, I'm getting ready to go somewhere else because I want to make more money, and you can say, well, you did 12 transactions last year, and I just want you to understand that you're going to have 150% commission split, because 4 of the transactions were things that I did directly that helped you get business.
Yep.
Okay. Now, that doesn't mean handing it to them. That's not what I'm saying.
Yep.
But it means maybe you support them on their geographic farming cost, right? Mm-hmm. Or that you're doing training every other week that's prospecting training, that's whatever, and you're coaching the people on their team to be better, whatever it is.
Yeah.
1/3
Yeah,
of
you gave them open houses when they had no listings.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
1/3 of what they do, you try to be a part of helping them grow their business by that 1/3. They will never leave.
Yep.
Okay. I shouldn't say never. The smart ones will never leave.
Yeah.
Okay. So absolutely, that's, from a lead generation standpoint, that's what we have to make sure that we're focusing on, is that you're a part of that. Now let's go back to that middle one for just a second. If they're a team leader, okay, the person should be bringing in 1/3 of the business themselves. They should be going out and getting it. 1/3 of the business the team leader should be handing them. Mm-hmm. And 1/3 of the business, the company should be helping support that business.
Gotcha.
Okay. If it's an individual, 1/3 of that should be things that they're bringing in themselves that are just from their sphere of influence. 1/3 of that should be marketing, and 1/3 of that should be the company doing things to help facilitate that.
Right.
Okay. So that means that they have to dig into their sphere of influence. That means you're forcing them to have a database if they look at it like that. Okay?
Gotcha.
So if you always think in terms of those 1/3, whenever you're trying to help someone grow their business, they're just going to be more productive, because they're always looking at, where else can I get these sectors of business? Where else can I get these pieces of business? And how is it that my company is helping me do that? If that's the case, you just have the life cycle of the agent's just so much longer with your brokerage.
Yep. I love it. Well, Matt, before we get to the action item, let me put a little bow on this. Guys, wherever you're listening to this, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, Google, Amazon, Alexa, a cassette. Make sure you hit that follow button. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that red subscribe button and that bell right beside it. You get notified every time we drop a new episode. If you don't mind, go to prospectboomerang.com. See all the things that Matt and I have going on. Just click on that services overview at the top. It'll give you a breakdown of everything that we offer from our company. And then just whichever one fits you the best, click on the button at the bottom, and you'll get details on specifically how that works. But Matt,
yeah,
enough about us. Give us an action item.
So I kind of
you got a minute and a half.
I kind of touched on this a little bit before, but here's how I would look at the action item for this, for understanding don't confusing needs with wants.
Okay.
How you say something is important as what you say. Mm-hmm. Okay. So in your recruiting interviews, being able to say something in a way that is more appealing to the person that you're talking to is going to help them get past whether they want it or not, and actually get into the need. If they think they wanted it, and you can help them understand that they actually need it, and you can help them get that, you're going to win, right? You would agree with that? Okay. So when you're talking to people in interviews, don't talk about tools and systems. Okay? Don't even talk about commission splits and I got to better split this and I got to better split that and all that kind of stuff. Use the words profitability and support instead.
Okay.
I want to increase your profitability.
Yep.
Okay. Commission split is a word that everyone uses, and because of that, it is conditioned a certain way in people's minds.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep.
Profitability is not a word that everyone uses.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Okay. And part of the reason why is because a lot of people don't want you to understand, right? They just want to say it's about the split, and then you do whatever you want with your money. And they're not telling you that you have ordinary business costs that you're going to have to pay yourself, and you're actually less profitable in certain situations.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason why sometimes they don't want to talk about it is because their profitability is always good because you are an asset to them. So it doesn't matter whether you are doing business or not because of the structure that they're set up with. Okay.
Gotcha.
And that's not good or bad, but that you just have to look at that and pay attention to it and understand the difference between commission split and profitability, between tools and systems and profitability and support.
Gotcha.
Use the words profitability and support in your interviews. And I promise, if you do nothing else the rest of the year, but learn how to use those 2 words, you will hire more people.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Well, we want everybody to be profitable.
Absolutely.
Right. That's why we do this and why we help everyone. But there's really one reason and one reason alone why we do everything, Matt. And tell them why that is.
We just want to be part of their win.